What's up my fellow gamers, I'm Kent and this is Corsby Gaming. So today's video is going to be a top 10 countdown on the best games for the Game Boy Advance. So this list was really tough to come up with because the Game Boy Advance has a very robust library of games and many of them were deserving of being on this list, but there can only be 10. So if one of your games was left off that was one of your favorites, I apologize. So the Game Boy Advance came out in my heyday of gaming, so I've played and beaten every single game on this list, but I did reference 3 different websites to help me out with the rankings. Those websites were Games Radar, Metacritic, and Digital Trends. On a side note, I did not include any games that were ports from other consoles on this list. So that excludes a lot of the Mario titles, Final Fantasy 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6, as well as Zelda: A Link to the Past. Many of those games would have obviously made this list, but I wanted this to be original Game Boy Advance titles. One last thing before we get into the countdown, if you like content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button, that way you can catch more videos like this in the future. Alrighty, let's get into the countdown. Starting this list off at spot number 10 is Metroid Zero Mission. So this game is a remake from the original 1986 Metroid game. In my opinion, it's the epitome of what a Metroid game is, a bright, vibrant, and diverse game that can be experienced linearly or non-linearly. Metroid Zero Mission is sure to captivate you, with only downside being its very short length. It only takes 5 to 10 hours to complete, even with all the extra content added in the remake. Number 9 on this list is Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, which was actually the highest sold Game Boy Advance game with a total of over 23 million copies sold. This third generation of Pokemon games built on the success of the previous generations while utilizing the improved capabilities of the Game Boy Advance. There were only a few actual gameplay improvements made, but it was obviously very popular nonetheless. Coming in at number 8 is Mario & Luigi Superstar Saga. This game was different from the other Mario titles as it was an RPG with turn-based combat similar to the Super Nintendo game Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. The game is lighthearted and full of humor, but the plot is a bit shallow. Overall, the game was very well received and even received a remake on the Nintendo 3DS in 2017. The number 7 game on this list is going to be Advance Wars. This is a military turn-based tactics game that encouraged in-depth strategy to be successful, but was also very accessible at the same time. This game's success and reception was very influential in opening the market for similar tactics-style games. Advance Wars was also the beginning for multiple other games in the series. Castlevania Aria of Sorrow is the number 6 game on this list, and at this point, this game and all the remaining games, an argument can be made for them being the number 1 game on this list. They are all excellent games, with not that much separating them in my opinion. Castlevania Aria of Sorrow was the 3rd Castlevania game released on the Game Boy Advance and really overshadowed the previous games by fixing some of the mistakes and adding to the quality gameplay that the predecessors had established. At number 5, we got Fire Emblem, which is also known as Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade, not to be confused with The Binding Blade, which was not released in the US. So Fire Emblem is a tactical role-playing game that incorporates permadeath. It has an intricate storyline, exceptional character development, and a combat system that requires in-depth strategy. The game was very well received overall, but did have some hang-ups, such as the long tutorial, which was fairly tedious. Coming in at number 4 on this list is Metroid Fusion, which was the first Metroid game released on the Game Boy Advance. The game was immediately compared to Super Metroid and looked on favorably as it improved and upgraded many features while staying true to the series. Metroid Fusion also brings a unique storyline and new gameplay elements while being just long enough to enjoy it all. The game takes 10 to 20 hours to beat, which is good for the series. For the number 3 game on this list, we got Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. Personally, this is one of my favorite games for the Game Boy Advance, and I put hundreds of hours into trying to build the perfect characters and complete all the missions. It continues the trend of exceptional tactics-style games making the list and really covers all the bases of what a Final Fantasy game is. The only real downside to this game is the intro, which is painfully long and takes over an hour to get through. At the number 2 spot on this list is Golden Sun. This is another game that is one of my favorites, and honestly I still feel kind of let down by its successors. So Golden Sun is a turn-based RPG that emphasizes solving puzzles and using abilities called synergy. It has a compelling storyline as well as a fun and well-animated battle system. I remember being blown away by how cool some of the moves were, and each time I got a new Djinn, I was so pumped. Honestly, the only downside to this game was the ending. And the number 1 game on this list is The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. So this is probably one of the most underrated Zelda games. There are obviously so many top tier classic games in the series like the Ocarina of Time, Breath of the Wild, A Link to the Past, that they really overshadow the Minish Cap. But it really deserves more credit than what it's been given because it is an exceptional game. Alrighty guys, so that concludes my top 10 countdown of the best games for the Game Boy Advance. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you would rank the games differently and what you would change. Hope y'all have a good one. I'll catch you next time.